beer. Sparkling, golden, pure, refreshing.
Oh, hey, now come on. Hang on now. Can't we just settle this over a pint? No. All right, then. Come on!
Chilled now, and Ingrid serves it in the traditional manner, from a pitcher with a garland of greenery. Mmm.
These guys find the kind of relaxation and release they need in a cold glass of beer. For them, only beer does it.
Grandpa's telling tales of yore. Bruce Q talks about comics more. Norm's got jokes that we adore. Hawk's our mascot, hear it roar. 3BeerMen drinking in the streets, laughing like there's no tomorrow. Hawk's loud score praising the bars, filled with joy, never sorrow. Grandpa's got his old school tricks, Bruce Q's latest adventure and more. Norm with laughs that'll mix, Hawk circles watch him soar. Beer cans clinking, stories unfold. Nights like these are pure gold. These memories bold, never sold. In Twilight's glow time behold. Everyone needs a night like this, full of stories can't be missed. Simple joys, pure bliss. In each sip, there's a twist. Men drinking in the streets, laughing like there's no tomorrow. Hawks loud spark raising the bars, filled with joy, never sorrow. 3BeerMen drinking in the streets, laughing like there's no tomorrow. Hawks loud spark raising the bars, filled with joy, never sorrow. Grandpa's got his old school tricks, Bruce Q's latest adventure and more. Norm with laughs that'll mix, Hawk circles watch him soar. Beer cans clinking, stories unfold. Nights like these are pure gold. These memories bold, never sold. In Twilight's glow time behold. Everyone needs a night like this, full of stories can't be missed. Simple joys, pure bliss. In each sip, there's a twist. In each sip, there's a twist.
Hello and welcome to 3BeerMen. On tonight's show, there's just two of us right now. Hawk, I believe, is having some technical difficulties, but hopefully will be here. And Bruce is at a wedding, so it's just me and Grandpa. How's your week been, Grandpa?
It's been reasonable. It's actually was kind of a quiet week, but I did have a lovely visit with a lovely coffee talk with Sandra on Wednesday. So if anybody's interested in a little interesting chat or maybe ASMR to put you to sleep, actually Sandra is an excellent interviewer. I'm just not the greatest interviewee, but it went really well.
Yeah, that's good. Didn't Bruce just do that right before that too, or?
Indeed. Yeah, Bruce was on the week before, I believe.
Yeah. So,
and Val out in the chat just noticed that I am wearing my Craig Mason T-shirt tonight. This came from the official Reasonable TV merch store. My No Jab shirt, just to remind everybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, good call, Val and TL. And we're not going to do chats just yet because we're going to stall around until we see if we get some raids. But I do want to let Norm shout out some thank yous while I pull up some graphics for those.
Oh, well, we've already gotten the gold pills started off with Spazzo Yeti. Wow, 1317, 1,317 gold pills right off the bat. It looks like right after we started. Thank you, Spaz, my friend. And yeah, check out Spaz's show. He streams usually, most nights. I'm not sure if he does it every night, but uh, pretty good show while he's awake anyway. And then there's Memer the Rememberer. He gifted us a cookie. Thank you very much for that. And we'll get to the rest of the chats in a little bit after we tell everybody what we're drinking. And while we're doing that, you can actually put in what you're drinking, and we'll try to shout out what you're drinking. Sure. So should I just do that right now? Or
Yeah, let's, like I said before the show, Norm, why don't you go ahead and introduce what you're drinking first? Because what I'm drinking tonight has kind of a story behind it. And I'm guessing you'll probably want to be drinking by the time I start telling that story. So,
yeah, that's probably true. Well, I'm drinking one that's only it's a 5.5% alcohol per volume. Actually, 5.57 is what it says. Which is unusual for me. Usually I drink the higher IPAs, but this is a summer lager. So, which is unusual for this brewery, actually. The brewery is known for its Belgium style beers and actually won many awards. I'm surprised it's the first time I think I am having them on the show because they are popular, but they are on the other side of the country for me. This is from Allagash, and it's Surf House summer lager. And like I said, I've looked and I know that Bruce has had Allagash on the show before, which makes sense because they're closer to him. But they are a popular brewery. That obviously I can get them here in Southern California. So they're famous for their white ale, and they've won many awards for that. I believe I don't know how many awards for that, but they've been around quite a while. And this one's actually very light as well, very light in color. I actually poured it in.
that is
What?
clearly a Helles. That would be a very light beer.
Yep. But it's a lager. Which, like I said, they're known for their Belgian
When a
style.
lager is that light, it's usually referred to in German as a Helles.
Okay. Which you would think that would mean dark, but
No, Helles actually is the opposite.
okay. Well, I overstimulated the head when I poured it. So I let me try to see if I can wait a little bit to get it a little more than halfway up the glass here. I'm just having this out of a traditional mug. I actually did throw this mug in the freezer for a bit before I started because it is a hot day here. But by the time I came out here, and it actually defrosted quite fast. So
Yeah, unfortunately, the frosted mug thing doesn't seem to be as effective.
yeah. Well, I've heard a lot of things about like how you're not supposed to do it because it can cause like different flavors to get into the beer, stuff like that. But sometimes when on a hot day, you really can't afford. Well, at least I have it. Try to have it chilled instead of frosted because on a hot day to have a warm lager is not a good thing. To, you know, uh, even ales are only supposed to be drank at room temperature, but on a hot day, especially after being outside and doing maybe yard work or something, you want something refreshing. And this is a rather refreshing beer.
It absolutely looks like a summer. The only other style that's as light as that at least that we brewed at my old brewery was Kolsch, but that's not. But that looks very much like our old what we called our gold, which was a Helles lager.
Well, is that a Krosch? Is that a lager or is that a more of a pill? Because for those who don't know, a lager it usually besides the yeast, it's actually fermented at a colder a colder
Yeah,
temperature.
Kolsch
Yeah.
is actually a hybrid. It uses ale yeast, but it's fermented at lower temperatures. So it should, by right of the yeast, be an ale style. Excuse me, but the flavors that develop because it's fermented for a longer time at a lower temperature uh, give it some lager characteristics.
And that's a bottom fermented, right? And the ales are top,
No, because it's an
or
ale
vice
yeast,
versa.
that would be top fermented.
Oh wow.
Because ale yeasts are top. Think of it. Just remember it this way: ales are like the jungle. They're active. They're up at the top. They're doing their magic. Lagers, they're like the Arctic. They're quiet. They're low, and they bottom ferment. That's
But that's sort of the opposite of Anchor Steam, which uses what, a lager yeast, but is brewed at like a ale.
ale
Well,
temperatures.
it's a
Yeah.
steam. It's brewed kind of differently than like a lot of them, because there's a bunch of gold miners back in California that all they had was like ale yeast, and they didn't have the facility to. Or it was lager yeast, I believe. They didn't have the facility to brew a lager, so they brewed a steam beer. But that's a I digress. So we'll go on to your story.
Well, I've got some digressing to do as well because you mentioned that being a summer beer specifically, and I also was looking for a summer beer, and what I ran across was actually something from my old brewery, the brewery I owned until recently, the Penn Brewery in Pittsburgh, and it was actually a variety pack of beers that are from a local amusement park here in Pittsburgh, a fairly famous amusement park called Kennywood Park. And right after I sold the brewery, actually, the new owner actually reached an agreement with Kennywood Park to open an establishment, a pub in the park. Now, of course, this is, to me, sounds like, this is an amusement park for kids, and you're opening a pub. But anyway,
Hey, there's some story. Look up Busch Gardens.
oh
That used
yeah,
to be in Los
exactly. This is
Angeles.
and
Yeah,
and and that is
that's
exactly the theme that they were going for. So they opened this thing called Jeter's Pub, and they put up these beers right here. Let me blow that up so you can see. The six pack actually came with six different beers. The Funnel Cake Shandy is a beer that was brewed specifically for the park with with a recipe that was formulated just for them because funnel cakes is one of the things that the park is famous for. Their refreshment stand funnel cakes people walk around the park with on big plates. And all the rest of them are named after other amusement park rides. So Old Mill Dark is named after a ride called Old Mill. Thunder Malt is named after the Thunderbolt roller coaster. Jack Rabbit is also named after a roller coaster.
Jack Rabbit.
Logger Jammer.
It reminds me of Pulp Fiction, the place where they went
Yeah,
and danced. Jack Rabbit Slims, but yeah, yeah,
indeed. Yeah.
yeah.
And Logger Jammer, and then Kangaroo is another ride there. Jackrabbit is kind of interesting. The Jackrabbit roller coaster at Kennywood Park is actually the second oldest operating wooden roller coaster in the world.
Where's the first one? Is that like
Now, here's
Santa Cruz, California?
no, this is what's really interesting. A long time ago, back when I lived in Altoona, Pennsylvania, I worked at a computer company that ended up buying part of an amusement park to put their computer company into. And I was there when we moved into that facility in the amusement park. That amusement park was called Lakemont Park, and it happens to be the home of the oldest operating wooden roller coaster in the world. So we could literally go out for lunch every day and ride the oldest roller coaster in the world.
That that just sounds, I don't know, scary, or because you would think with a wooden roller coaster there'd be like a lot of wood rot, or wood doesn't hold up as good as steel, but
Well,
as long
I
as it's
will say I do
maintained.
remember going to Lakemont many times as a kid, and the Leap the Dips roller coaster, that's what it's called, Leap the Dips, was in ragged shape. I mean, it was off in a corner of the park that was literally fenced off. I mean, it was falling apart.
But
And the Blair County Historical Society came in and raised some funds to do a big restoration and make a big deal out of it, in the hopes of kind of turning, the park into a national attraction.
hmm. And plus, once you make it a historical landmark, you basically can't tear it down. So
Right. Yeah, there's that too. So, and
there,
that
there,
company's still there to this day. So, I'm going to start out tonight. We won't see the can very well because of the green screen. I'm going to start out tonight with the one that was brewed specifically for them, and that's the funnel cake shandy. And that's going to be strawberry funnel cake shandy. So that's basically going to be a strawberry shandy, probably with a lot of with extra lactose, and
yeah,
that is what it looks like.
it looks much like a beer instead of a shandy, but
Yeah, it looks a bit like a hazy actually. It's not quite clear, but it's not. It's actually pretty good. Now you know me, I have that taste for the sweet things. Um,
yeah,
I like the sickening sweet champagnes and that kind of stuff.
yeah. So and I like the labels. They kind of remind me of the old Schoolhouse Rock cartoons. Growing up, watching on Saturday morning, they just the lettering in them remind me of that sort of. Do you remember those? Were those before your time or after your
That's
school?
or maybe just not something I was ever exposed to. I don't
Yeah,
know.
Schoolhouse Rock, 19, I don't know, 70s, 80s. Taught you all about
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
gov-
The Schoolhouse Rock. I missed the reference there
yeah.
because my chat machine. We're just having all kinds of technical problems tonight,
Ah,
and the video driver on my chat machine just crashed. So all of that screen just went to low resolution. So all of my windows are now piled over top of each other, and I can't see the chat. So I will
well,
be rebooting while we talk here a little bit, but that's going to
well,
make getting to the chats a little harder.
the labels also kind of remind me of Peter Max style back in the late 60s with his black light posters.
Yeah, yeah.
Not his new stuff, but yeah, the the stuff that made him popular. With he did the Beatles cartoons and all that stuff too. So also reminds me of that. But yeah, we do have MAGA tick in all the chats as for Odyssey and Rumble goes. Are you done talking about the beer,
I,
guys? Should we
yes, I
move on
am.
to the
So, Norm, if you want to
chat?
go on to chats again, I do not have access to any of the chats just right this instant. I am still recovering my machine.
All right. Well, I don't see anybody except for Magatic and Rumble and Odyssey. And Odyssey, by the way, you can find all our shows archived over there. I think it's the only place you can find out all our shows. A lot of them over at Foxhole as well. But that was only the shows since we started on Foxhole. And we did do the show for, what, a month or 2 months before we actually got
The
invited to Foxhole.
We did, and the other advantage to the replays over on Odyssey, not that I'm touting Odyssey, it's got its issues, or has had its issues from time to time, but the thing about Odyssey is that all of the replays there are in full HD, where the replays on Foxhole are in 360, literally, because that's what Foxhole does for free accounts. We were actually just having this discussion last night on the Foxhole Squares. A lot of people don't realize that, but there is a paid tier for Pilled that you can sign up for, and if you sign up for that tier, then they will archive your shows and your playbacks in full HD. But if you don't subscribe to that tier, then your playbacks are basically in 360.
That is something I did not know. But you don't have to subscribe to watch them in that. It's just whoever you watch.
Correct.
That has it.
It's just the saved recordings. Like after this show is over, if you go back to watch this show on Pilled, it's going to be in 360. If you go back probably tomorrow morning, because Odyssey, that's another problem with Odyssey, is that it takes a little while to process things. And Odyssey doesn't immediately put the replays up. There's actually a step I have to go through after the show is over to put the show up permanently over on Odyssey. And I usually can't do that reliably until the next morning.
Well,
but then it'll be in HD over there. Oh, and I should mention, yes, all the shows that we've done since we joined Rumble, which is less than 2 years now.
Yeah.
So it's nowhere near the whole archive. But those shows are also available at Rumble in HD as well.
And you can find all those links over on 3beermen.tv, which is our website, of course, as well as, if you're curious to see what we drank, you can just type that brewery or the beer into the search engine, and it should come up, providing you're not drunk.
If it says no results, then it generally means that we haven't had that beer. But that's, there's getting to be fewer and fewer of those.
Yeah. In my case, if it says no results, I was just drunk and mistyped it when I was looking.
Yeah, right. You got to make sure and search for the correct spelling. Yes.
And some of these breweries have odd spellings. So, we'll go over to YouTube over on the Men is Comic Entertainment Group channel. And we got Pops over there. And we got Magatic, of course. Like I said, he's in all the chats monitoring our fire safety. And then is that WWMPD Josh Perry?
Josh Perry, yes. He's a friend of ours from over at the Madness Comic Network. So we are glad to see you, Josh. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
It's just the 2BeerMen tonight. There
we go.
All right, there we go. The bird just flew in. All right. And we got the beer bird.
Fighting to get on stage here. I tell you what. Hello?
Yeah, I know we were hoping that some work this week was going to make things a little more reliable.
Yeah, I did so many updates, and I did everything I possibly could, and I don't know why it was still fighting me now, but it's going to lose, or whatever.
That's the spirit.
Yeah. I'm wondering if it's not the heat in the atmosphere.
I keep hearing a lot about that. I have that lined up for us to talk about for this week in beer, so yeah. We'll talk a little bit about the heat, but let's see. Where were we in the chats? Or Hawk, did you? I don't know if you've had time to get settled in for anything to drink just yet.
Yeah. Well, I tried to. Where I'm at was a bad signal area, and I think that was part of it. So I'm driving around. So I'm trying not to drink and drive currently.
You're flying around. You mean? You can't drive. You poop on your own car.
Those birds are better drivers than you.
I can believe that.
Named after birds. We fly at low altitude when we have to.
Well,
All right, continue.
All right.
well,
Norm, so how far did you make it? Magatic in.
all the chats, but why don't you? We're up to D Live if you want
All right. Well,
to shout
because
out
of
there.
my reboot, I lost my good old reliable
Oh,
everything. So what I have since we came back is Syllabore, Jayla 17, Magatic, Val Kimber, John Rogers, TL Spud, and Bad Bad Zoot. And I know earlier I definitely saw Peggy Dancer and Willie Fixit.
mhm.
And my apologies to anybody else that my misbehaving system glitched on us.
I think you got everybody that I can see. Go back. I can't even go back to the beginning for whatever reason. I don't
Well,
because
that's
I
why my
uh,
tool is cumulative. It will record everything from the beginning as long as it's running. But when the machine crashed and I had to restart the tool, I didn't think to, save in progress.
well, let me start out. Okay, let me go over to Foxhole, and we see our friend TikToks was here before the show. I'm not sure if you're still here, TikToks, but good to see you, my old friend. Yeah, um, and, and if you're not familiar with TikToks, he was on the show early on, and he he's been on Foxhole forever too. So check out his show on Foxhole. And then we got my friend Mr. Tizo. Good to see you as well. I see you in all the other chats of the shows I watch. So, and then we already mentioned Spazzo Yeti and Memer the Rememberer, with their gold pills. So thank you for those. And we got Willie Fix It over here as well. Um, and Memer tonight is he's having wine instead of beer because it fits with the show. The because instead of beer, but it still fits with the show. Yeah, well, any alcohol beverage, and it's
Oh, any
summertime.
any
Yeah,
beverage at all.
yeah.
We don't require alcohol, but
Mhm.
I do. If we get to the segment tonight, I actually do have a little bit of wine to share myself. I've been threatening to do that for a couple of weeks now. Do a wine and cheese tasting, and I've still got that lined up for tonight. If we get to it, last week we kind of got busy with Bruce, but
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
And then Magatix says he's at home, and I won't say the rest of it because I might offend Hawk. Uh, also, I don't know how you feel about somebody frying chicken wings, but uh, so
As long as they don't mind, I'm good with it.
yeah, so
Fair enough.
um, and Zozo Dude had a comment about the Busch Gardens, and that, yeah, there was a Busch Garden. I think still is a Busch Gardens in North Carolina or somewhere, but there was one in Southern California in the parking lot of all places of the Anheuser-Busch Brewery here that they closed down right before I moved here because of, I believe it was animal cruelty. They were being really mean to birds. Actually, I hate to say that, you could look up that. Maybe we'll talk about that during another show. We
Indeed.
got
What?
Mikey Baseball. Good to see you. And yeah, yeah, boy, Death. We got all the diehard. Thank you guys for always being here, and both of you. I know you've been here for ever, and then you got CDP for JC, which I know you've been here for quite a while too. Did I miss anybody? We haven't really got a raid yet, but we normally get a raid at sooner or later. But
Yeah, around this time or thereabouts. Yeah, I remember going to Busch Gardens. That was someplace where our little German marching band would get paid to stroll around in the summer, which was kind of interesting. We would get paid to go there instead of paying to go there. which was nice. And we would get free passes, and we could usually sneak to the front of the line in our uniforms and not get too many people yelling at us. You know, they kind of understood that we only had a limited amount of time between sets. So, you know.
Well,
But
yeah,
okay.
you mentioned a wooden roller coaster earlier, and I know the one here in Los Angeles. It was in Van Nuys, California, where there's still an Anheuser-Busch brewery now is in Bev, of course, but I believe they did have a wooden roller coaster before they got closed down for all the stuff they did to those birds. So
Indeed. Hey, and a quick public service announcement to anybody watching over on Pilled. It looks like Pilled is still experiencing some of the same issues that we had last night during the squares. But my understanding is that if you watch it in low res, that it streams pretty good, that it doesn't buffer. So if you're getting the spinning wheel over on Pilled, do whatever that magic thing is that you do to change the setting down to a lower setting, and it'll look a little blurrier, but it'll come across in real time without the spinnies.
yeah, as long as you can hear us, you don't necessarily have to look at us. But
We're not that pretty anyway.
yeah,
Some of
appreciate
us are just better not being
that.
listened to either.
This is true.
So,
Well, since we're talking about amusement parks, a really funny thing happened while I was researching for that little discussion there about amusement parks. Lo and behold, pop up in my feed is the latest video from Dr. Clown. Dr. Clown is a artist who contributes quite a bit to Flip City Magazine and is a good friend of the Madness Network, and is also a really, really hilarious guy just all on his own. If you are not already following Dr. Clown PhD on X, Dr. Clown PhD. Give him a follow. He's trying to get to 150,000 followers. He's at like 141,000 now. But I'm going to play this video that showed up in my feed. Norm, I think you'll appreciate this amusement park video.
Yo, mission log 002. Today I'm studying what they call an amusement park. It's a giant fear simulator where humans pay money to scream together. Let's investigate. Okay, so apparently the goal is to wait 2 Earth hours for a 30-second experience that may or may not cause vomiting. These creatures are unhinged. I love it.
Yo, this was a bad idea, eh? Okay, so humans call that fun? All right, I'm officially starving. Time to test their food tech. It disappeared in my mouth? I don't trust it.
Okay, that was mission log 002. This place is loud, chaotic day, and now they're blowing stuff up for fun. Might come back tomorrow. End transmission.
Like I said, he's got lots of good stuff like that. So if you're not already following Dr. Clown PhD over on X, he's a great morning laugh every morning, and he puts a lot of effort into it. So
I got to find out what software he uses. That's something I stopped doing about 5 years ago. Was my animation stuff, but I gotta get back into it and find it.
Somebody actually asked him, and in a follow-up post, I believe he did actually mention. I'll look it up for you after the show. I believe he actually said which particular packages he's using, or you can just give him a follow on X. No, I'll look it up and send it to you.
I've been so busy lately. I really haven't. I'm trying to.
In all fairness, X is a swamp better avoided anyway. If you've got no reason to be there.
I have been trying to focus on my career, and technology is not a easy career to work in if you just want to learn something and then think you'll know that thing for forever, because it's constantly updating.
Well, remember,
Yeah.
you're talking to a guy who started on 8-bit systems, so I know exactly what you're talking about. I have literally seen it all, from
But
mainframes and punch cards to 8-bit systems to 16-bit systems to cell phones to AI machines. I mean, I've
even the the generative generation software, like the software that generates the video and animation and even audio, it's so hard to keep up with. And you're talking to somebody that started out doing audio back in the analog days, so I'm having a hard enough
no
time
same
following
same
up with the
here.
audio. Yeah.
My first job was at a music store where I did two things. I cleaned pianos to get them ready for refinishing, and I repaired tube type amplifiers because I was
Oh
the
yeah.
only guy who knew how to work tubes.
But you know what? Tubes rock.
Yeah. Oh yeah, working on those old Marshalls. Oh, that was good stuff. Although uh, not for the faint of heart or the clumsy, because most of those systems ran with 270 volts inside as the bias voltage on most of those tubes. So if you put your finger or your screwdriver in the wrong place, you knew it pretty quick.
I used to focus CRTs, so I
Oh yeah, yeah. Well,
that
see,
was
that was
that's
yeah.
a different,
Working
yeah,
on
that's same
color
thing. Yeah.
TVs, that was the best. That was the most fun. Trying to measure the voltage under the anode cap on a live color TV at 40,000 volts.
The old iMacs back 25 years ago, that those color iMacs, I used to have to focus them, put a CD-ROM in them, and they had a pattern.
Hmm.
Like I put a CD-ROM that had a pattern, and I used to have to focus the magnets on the back without wearing any metal jewelry. I was also connected to the table with the static, and had to keep one hand behind my back,
Yep, that was
so it
that was the
not
general rule.
crossing
Yep.
the heart, and and make sure those three dots lined up to make a white dot. It's a RGB dot,
Yeah.
red, a blue,
In
and the green, and they
in
lined
the
up.
old color TV days, we had convergence patterns, but it was the same thing. We had a black box that we would hook up to the back of the television, and it would put the test pattern up on the screen. And there would be different test patterns that you would go through that would let you align the vertical and the horizontal,
Yeah,
converge, skew, the dip up and down, or tilt, or there were like 15 different adjustments that you had to do to get a TV just right.
yeah, the horizontal you had to, and the vertical you had to do with a on a plastic screw
Oh yeah.
with a
Well,
flathead plastic screwdriver.
well,
Although
the,
some of
the
my
reason the reason you
coworkers
use
did
the
the
plastic
metal.
tool to do that
Yeah,
is not for the electrical shock. Believe it or not, the reason you use the plastic tool to do that is because the thing you were adjusting down in there was actually an inductor. It was a coil. So it was a coil of wire. And if you stuck a metal implement in there, that changed the value of the inductance. So you had to adjust it with a plastic tool, because if you tried to adjust it with a metal tool, you would get a completely erroneous value. And as soon as you took the tool away, it would do something completely different.
well, that, and also I've noticed some of my coworkers that didn't care would actually like the bend bend it with a metal tool as well to make it like off. Yeah, 'cause basically, you should have just turned it horizontal or vertical, and it should have worked. But you get a metal tool in there, and it's going to tear up the plastic too. Yeah, that's plunger or something like that. You had to use. Yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
maybe we can do
Indeed.
a what the heck is that later on with
Well,
with those
I
tools.
do have one of those for tonight.
Yeah.
But it's not. It doesn't have to do with old TVs. It actually has to do with something with brand new technology. In fact, or sort of brand new. And Music Man over on Pilled, yes, indeed. It is spinning Wheel of Death again. And I just ran my down to 720. We'll see if that helps it any. That brought it back, but nah, it looks like it's still glitchy. Yeah, I hate to say it, but Foxhole is really having trouble. I mean, if they want us to pay for a subscription, if that'll make it better, tell me that. But but it was happening everywhere. We had it on
I've noticed every
on Squares last night. We had it on Christie's show on Thursday. And it's fine everywhere else. I'm watching 7 feeds right now on my screen, and the only one with a spinning Wheel of Death is Pilled. So
every 6 to 8 months, it seems like they go through some growing pains there, and they are a fairly new platform. Still, they're only 4 years old now, but 4 or 5. But I'd like to thank my friend Just Jim for gifting us a can over there.
Indeed. And yes, I would mention that Pilled is not only new, but they are growing like wildfire. So this could be some growing pains that they're experiencing as well. So.
And they're not a big staffed company like some of the other maybe newer ones are.
Right.
They're very small staff.
You can talk to the owners of that, or the higher ups there. You can talk to the Matts. You can talk to real people there.
The creatives, the people that created it, not only the owners, but the creators, where a lot of other places have a whole staff of people and are closed off. And that's why it's so homey. It feels like, I don't know. We're kind of biased because we kind of beta tested a lot of the features too, and we were there right as the chat started and before the gold pills. So
we were there at the very beginning, and we were there to help beta test the gold pills. And I cannot complain about the fact that it was the first channel that monetized us. So there's no complaining about that. All right, well, before we digress too much further, shall we jump just a little bit into some This Week in Beer?
Yeah.
I don't have a whole lot, but I do have a couple of things. And, of course, first and foremost, I guess we have to mention, as you know, we're not a political show. But it's kind of hard not to be aware of the fact that a little something went down with a couple bunker busters last night over in a certain foreign country. And
I actually don't know anything about that because I've been ignoring most news lately. Even the local news around me, I don't even know what's going on with. And it's like some big stuff happening around me. I just try to.
To read X at midnight last night, you would think that World War III had just started or Armageddon was breaking out, because apparently we flew a couple of B-2s over Iran and dropped a couple of bunker busters into those nuclear centrifuge sites that they have buried like 200 feet underground, but. For a GU-47 or whatever it's called, bunker buster, it's
I thought that was called mother of all bombs, but
there's I don't know if they used any Moabs last night or not, but I actually heard about it first from my Pelosi stock trader, of all things. Apparently, the Pelosi's were panicking when they heard that Trump was launching something called Operation Midnight Hammer. Because that's what it was called, Midnight Hammer. And, that's Paul Pelosi, for those of you who don't get that picture. Okay, I'll move on. That one fell flat. I'll just say we are extremely lucky that they didn't steal the election this time around. Otherwise, we'd be having Operation Hammered by noon instead.
But you know what? When I was a kid, and I think Reagan was in office. There was a Beach Boys parody. Are you familiar with the Beach Boys parody? I'm about
Bomb,
to.
bomb, bomb, bomb,
Um,
bomb, Iran. Yep, I know it.
that I believe Reagan was in office. I'll find that parody and
Well,
I'll put it in the
no
Discord right
doubt.
now.
I mean, remember
Yeah,
Reagan is supposedly, is the one
yeah.
who got the hostages released
Hmm.
on the first day of his presidency. Actually, the first 5 minutes of his presidency.
Well,
So
that's
just
because that was a spite to Jimmy Carter. That was just because they were like, yeah, we won't do it while you're in office. So
yeah.
I think, and so yeah.
So, by the way, I'm moving on to the second of the Kennywood beers. I am having the Thunder Malt next. The Thunder Malt, looking at the ingredients on the back, there it is. As soon as I looked at the ingredients, I knew instantly that this is Kaiser Pills. So I mentioned that the last beer, the Funnel Cake Shandy, that was brewed special with a special recipe for Kennywood. But all 5 of the other beers, just by looking at the descriptions on the back, I was able to say, oh yeah, that's Pendark, that's Kaiser Pills, that's Penweizen, that's so it's all their regular beers just renamed for park use.
For amusement purposes only.
There we go. I like that. Oh, that's perfect for amusement purposes only. Yes. Yep, this one is definitely Kaiser Pills. You can tell because it is much lighter and it is super clear. I mean, you can see my face right through that. That's actually an interesting effect, actually.
It looks like a
um,
amusement park mirror in itself. See,
Yeah, it's kind of.
Funhouse. If you go to
But
the
I
Funhouse,
do know that it's not the gold. It's not the Hellas because the log jammer description on the back of the log jammer is the same as the description for Penn Gold, which is the Hellas.
and is that's a lager? The
Yes, the
Logjammer
Kaiser
is the
Pils
lager.
is actually a German Pilsner, and it is a hoppy Pilsner. It's a hoppy lager. So it's not an IPA. It's not an ale at all. It's a lager, but it's a hoppy lager. So it's a lager with some extra hops.
And a log jammer.
Squawk?
So and a log jammer.
Squawk.
Hey, Hawk.
Yeah, I'm back. Squawk.
Oh yeah. See now that is probably the best beer that Penn brews. Kaiser Pils. It never distributed very far. It was a fairly limited beer. The guy who was our warehouse manager, his nickname was Pooch, and he ran. I shouldn't say ran. He had a group of friends that got together every week at the brewery that was called the Kaiser Club, and they loved the Kaiser Pills so much that they would come, and there was like 20 of them. I mean, it was a huge get together every Friday about 4:30. They would start to trickle in, and
But tell
about
me his significant.
5:30 they would all trickle out to the parking lot and come back smelling like herb.
But who gave him the nickname? Was it one of those guys, or was it his significant other?
Good question.
That
Indeed.
doesn't
Well,
sound.
with the Geneva Convention, you aren't allowed to give yourself your own group nickname, so.
Yeah,
Indeed. And thank you, Music Man, for sharing us out. We
yeah.
appreciate
Thank you.
that. Yep. Deplorable Farmer said updates are so frequent, maybe the Mats do like Microsoft with a patch the second Tuesday of every month.
I know a little bit about the updates because it seems like okay. I have to keep all my systems updated at work, and it seems like after Google Chrome comes out with an update, which is
Yeah.
basically the baseline of all browsers now. It seems like they have to come out with an update, and I think it's a browser based because it seems like Google Chrome it's been coming up with the update probably twice a week now, which it used to be like twice a month, and before that it was even less than that. But yeah,
Well,
that's
I'm just glad that the U.S. helped the Iranians, you know, update their, you know, their refinery stuff because, you know,
yeah.
wouldn't want Stuxnet to get a hold of it again, would we?
Yeah, gee
See, we're
whiz.
doing them a
That
favor. We're doing the right thing.
yeah. Yeah, right. Right. We're eradicating a potential future infestation of Stuxnet. That's all. I love it.
Huh.
For those of you out there who don't know Stuxnet, that's a story we will have to tell on another show. But that because that's a long story, and I think I would have to prep some background to make sure I got it all right because
Yeah,
that was a story.
That was
it
so
was
impressive, though. It's a mystery. It's right now we're going to treat it like a mystery show. All right, so you can have your best
Mr.
guesses, but Cosby's going to bring the solid truth on the show one of these days.
Mystery wrapped in an enigma, which is a good to see you, AP
Indeed.
9889, old friend of mine. So haven't
Indeed.
talked in a while,
And
but
shout out over on the D Live to Jake Hudson 12, who just donated a lemon. We appreciate that. And good to see you, Jake Hudson.
Hey, Norm, newsflash: all your friends are old. Block.
one to say,
Anyway.
one on the show to say that.
Hey, you know
Yeah.
what though? Speaking of age and getting old, do you know that eagles can live to be 70? But
I
they
did.
go through a major transformation at 40.
Huh.
If they decide to make it to 70, it's entirely up to them, mostly. We'll get back.
Huh.
That's a bird mystery for later.
I don't know.
All right.
I was actually born in Philadelphia, but I don't think
That has jack shit to do with
I.
eagles, but okay, back to you, Cosby.
All right. Well, we have a segment later on in the show for strange facts, so that could be that could fit into one of those. But wrapping up this week in beer, of course, the reason why we called the show "It's Summertime" is because yesterday did mark the official start of summer, the longest day of the year, and the introduction, although not officially the start of, what is referred to as the dog days of summer. And when I went to look that up, I thought, Hawk talking about strange things today. So there's a strange one for you. Why do they call it the dog days of summer?
I think there was a movie about that or called that. I
Well, there
Well,
certainly
it
was a
was a
movie called
phrase
that.
though that meant something before it was ever a movie.
of course, there's probably been many books and novels and screenplays written about it, but yeah, it seems like there was a movie about it, or
Kind of like the Ides of Mars.
even a song about it, maybe. And Indian summer is another phrase.
Okay, let's stay on topic.
Well, I looked it up, and Dog Days of Summer actually doesn't involve any dogs at all. So, despite the name, the phrase has nothing to do with dogs or
The
dogs
cats
being
doing a
hot.
false flag, aren't they?
That's what it is. I'm sure it is. Believe it or not, the phrase is ancient. The phrase "dog days" dates all the way back to the ancient Greeks, and they referred to the hottest part of the summer as dog days because of the star Sirius.
Dog
Now
star.
the dog star. The star Sirius is one of is the brightest star in the constellation of Canis Major, which is the dog in Greek and Roman mythology, and it always just so happened that that constellation was in a particular place in the sky from about the 3rd of July to about the 11th of August or thereabouts. And so that's how Dog Days of Summer got the name as the
It,
hottest days of summer.
Let me guess. It's because
it
even over there, which in Italy has a terrain much like the Southwest here, it takes forever at night to cool off. If you got a day that gets 90 or even breaks 100, so they're waiting and waiting and waiting, wondering if it's ever going to cool down, and they're blaming the Canine constellation.
Yeah, well that was a big part of it. They blamed that constellation being too close to the sun as the reason for the heat.
Hey,
Did
wow.
they let the Dogon tribe know that they were onto them?
And that also has to do with Orion. Sirius is Orion's dog, right?
Well, I mean, they hang out and drink beer. I don't know if they were a dog.
Well, that's his hunting dog. That's how I find Sirius. Is usually I find Orion first, and then I.
Do you know that Orion also has a shield constellation? I
Okay,
happen to
there's
know that
another.
because I did one. But anyway, back to you,
All
Cosby.
right. Well, there's
But
another fact to dive into.
that's also why if you know Sirius FM has a dog as the logo
Well, no shit.
because of that's
Well,
where
because
they
its
got it.
name's Sirius. I mean, they name it after it. They put the constellation on it. Yeah, got it.
But
It might be a
that
bird
Well,
still
friend, but
doesn't
come on.
explain why RCA had a dog for their logo.
it doesn't, and it was a pit bull too, with its head tilted, that looked just like the dog I grew up with. At an old phone. What do you call the RCA? Old
Spud
RCA
15?
phonographs. Old phonograph. Yeah.
All right, so here's a bit of trivia for the audience out there. Who knows the name of the RCA dog?
I'm not supposed to say it, but
Yeah, you probably know that one, Norm. I'm going to guess.
well, like I said, it's the dog I grew up with. So, so
See, I would have said Victor. I'll give it away. It's not Victor.
well, it kind of resembled Petey from the Little Rascals without the yeah, but um, you could say a cold night or maybe a little shot of whiskey. I I already said too much. Yeah,
Well, people have
yeah.
had enough time to Google it now anyway, and anybody who really wants to know probably has. So, just by way of trivia, the name of the RCA dog was Nipper. And he was that little dog that was always sitting in front of the gramophone. So anytime you saw the old RCA logos back in the '60s, the TV, you'd have the gramophone, the old crank phonograph with a big horn sticking up out of it, and the dog was sitting right in front of the horn listening to it. I don't know if I can
So
find a picture of
and
Nipper or
Peggy
not, but
Dances mentioned RKO, which is Radio Kenneth. Oh, I can't remember. I don't think they were related, but yeah, I know that the old RKO studios on the corner of Melrose and Gower in Hollywood were bought by Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball, become Desi Lou Studios, and they cut the globe, but they couldn't keep the tower on the corner there because of RKO still owned the rights to the the copyright to that. So that was
to
on the
that,
corner, and then Paramount bought them later on,
yeah,
and now I think it's owned by Skydance. But we had a
yeah, I
show
don't.
talking about
How did we
how
get
that
here
could
from a
RKO.
constellation?
Yeah,
No,
we
actually,
we
the
we
chat,
digressed from RCA and
the chat, Peggy Dancer, P Dance in the chat said RKO, and that
yeah.
kind
Well,
of
And that just
RKO
drew
did
your
actually
attention
start
span, huh?
out as RKO
mhm.
radio pictures. So
Yeah, yep.
indeed.
I
All right.
just
Well,
talked
we
about a little,
are.
little bit about the history. I used to actually, when I was 25, I did do a tours over there. It was like one of my first jobs in Hollywood, doing a tour over at that old studio.
Nice.
A lifetime ago, 30 years ago. Man, I'm old. Sorry. So,
You say it was 30, then it
Indeed.
was 40. Back to you, Cosmic.
All right. Well, we are almost up on the halftime or half point of the show, where we'll run a little intermission. So I think the only other weird fact that I had before intermission, I heard this one too when I was doing a search for weird facts, and I was looking for specific weird bird facts, and the suggestion that came up, and Hawk, I want you to tell me if this is true. It said, if chickens had square assholes, eggs wouldn't fall off the table.
That's a fact, but it's also that would also be not true if you had a cat, because the cat would still go push the square egg off the table. So it's kind of a
Well,
loaded question.
you're putting an unforeseen variable into the equation, and that's a cat. It's an
Well,
unforeseen
you
variable.
have to introduce that into not only Schrodinger's cat, but you also have to do that to flat Earth, because that's how we know in flat Earth's not flat. It's because the cat would be knocking every continent off. You got to apply what you know.
Are you saying the Earth is an egg?
What? That are you speaking English? Si
No,
habla inglés, señor.
I don't
Please
speak
speak English to
English.
me. Whatever you said was not English.
all right. Well, on that note, I think we're close enough that we could digress real quick to an intermission while I hobble off and see a man about a thing.
Yep.
And I'm still hobbling. My knee is still bugging the heck out of me. So I'm going to do my best to be back in time. But
Yeah.
I think I need to talk to somebody about a horse as well.
Talk to him
yeah.
about an ostrich.
All right. So tonight's intermission is actually something that Bruce sent me. And so tonight's intermission is brought to you by Bruce and the Dilly Meme team. But first, let's all go to the lobby.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Well, old Ramen Rand is raising a stink, talking about principles barely can blink. Massey's got his boots in a twist, yelling about freedom with a clenched up fist. But back home, folks are broke as hell. Thanks to the budget they help sell. Now they whine about principles while acting like a couple imbecile. When it's the big beautiful bill patching the crack, while they virtue signal and stab Trump in the back. Ain't news spinning, just settling scores from the budget bomb they dropped before. Either they're ignorant about the rules or think Americans are a bunch of fools. Trump rolls in with a Band-Aid plan, trying to fix what broke from their own hand. They cry big government, bless their heart, while voting with Biden from the start. They crashed the car, now gripe about the tow, acting like cleanup's a brand new blow. But this ain't spending just for thrills, it's patching the holes from their own maybe from Capitol Hill. Either they don't know how the rules are spun, or they're just full of shit and think Americans are dumb. So raise a glass to performative pain while we fix what's left in the budgetary train. Cue the fiddles and the phony outrage still. God bless the big, beautiful bill.
If I was the deep state and I wanted to destroy America, I would rig the election with a puppet candidate. One that was so compromised that they would never say a word about it. I would create a false flag that allows for mail-in ballots. I would be in charge of the ballot counting machines. I would create a false flag to blame all who question the results of the election. If I was the deep state, I would prosecute anyone that went against me. I would sue and prosecute anyone that spoke up about the fraudulent election. I would use my powers to shut down all your internet businesses and bankrupt you. If I was the deep state, I would make everyone an example why you should never question a Democrat ever winning an election. I would imprison my foes. I would use my corrupt DAs and blackmailed judges to destroy you. I would make sure all crimes I ever committed never happened. I would prosecute my biggest competition. I would make sure they could never run for office ever again. If I was the deep state, I would convince everyone that Ukraine Nazis were good and women are men. If I was the deep state, I would own every politician that mattered. If I was the deep state, I would push my pedophilia ambitions on you. If I was the deep state, you'd question your sexual identity but not the medical establishment. If I was the deep state, you would fear to ever resist me. If I was the deep state, you would wish I was really the devil. If I was the deep state, I would say mission accomplished.
All right, and we are back. That was a little amusement from the Dilly Meme team there. And in case any of you didn't get the reference on the last bit there, that was actually a parody of Paul Harvey's If I Was the Devil, which we have played on this show before. Although I would have to really go back to look and figure out which one. Norm, I'm not hearing you for some reason.
Because I was muted. Who would have figured? Yeah. Now that was and we've tried to mimic you. You try to do the Paul Harvey Men or World of Hats with Paul Harvey's voice, and did we have trouble doing that before?
Yeah. I tried, and that was right after they eliminated all the celebrity voices from the free AI services. And I guess some of the paid ones still have celebrity voices, although I know some of them are getting sued.
They don't have.
Well, there's a lot of people running around impersonating Joe Rogan. His voice.
I paid for one to just do Nicolas Cage, and when I got it, they're like, "Oh, you need this update," and then I tried to update it, and they're like, "Oh, you need a PC to update it." And then even on the PC, it wasn't even updated. I was like, "You're lying to me, first of all," because I was trying to do a Nicolas Cage thing, but I just gave up on it years ago. Because
hey, Cosmic, I found that video. I put it in the Telegram. No, you don't have to watch it now. We just stick with your program, but just know it's there. That way, if you get a free chance, grab it. We can just keep moving in whatever direction you want to, though.
All right, I could do that. Well, speaking of direction, what I did have for the second half of the show is fairly loose. I do have a couple of cooking segments. I have a build segment. But what I also have is something that Hawk suggested earlier this week, and that is some random strange facts.
Those are always interesting, but you know what's always crazy to me is that we're always, third person in collecting information because we didn't actually go there and check out any of it. We're just going off what everybody else is saying. So, I mean, just the other day I heard somebody saying that the Trojan horse never actually really existed, and I don't think they would have talked about it this much if it hadn't been real, right? So,
Yeah.
unless of it's got a time machine, and I don't think we can really deny that, but they tried to. So, always watch your facts, folks.
Well, this particular fact or this particular strange fact caught my attention because, of course, it's in a field that I'm familiar with. So when Hawk sent it to me, I right away had to go do some research and see whether it would be practical. And it involves the internet. And what it actually involves is the very early internet. And
Hold on, Hawk. Your wing. Okay, now it's gone. Never mind.
yeah, it's he knows he'll get it.
I
I'm not.
couldn't hear, but sorry.
Yeah, no, this what I was saying is this involves the very early internet. In fact, the earliest internet that there is. And if you want to go all the way back to the earliest internet that there is, this is the first internet diagram. This is the diagram of the entire internet in December of 1969.
Oh, they didn't find that as a cave painting?
That's the ARPANET network.
Yeah, that's ARPANET, and the four nodes out there in ARPANET. There were four different computers connected to each other. Now, the internet literally has billions of devices on it. But at that time, there were four nodes, and it wasn't necessarily created as a government defense project, which a lot of people seem to think. ARPA was Advanced Research Projects something Administration, and DARPA became the Defense Advanced Research Projects Administration. But at this time, it was ARPA, and the people who were working on the internet at this time were basically college kids. This was college kids doing their college theses, building the first internet.
I remember reading a book a while back, and I've been trying to get back into it. It was called "Why Wizards Stay Up Late at Night," and it was about this whole thing with the .com, which is commercial, and that was started by AT&T, if I'm not mistaken, and the .edu, which was like Berkeley and MIT and DARPA sort of, and the dot like and then military, which was basically ARPA, right? Am am I not that far off? I don't.
No, that's basically right. But the military didn't see the potential of this thing just yet. This was just a bunch of crazy college students' ideas at University of California, UCLA, Stanford, and Santa Barbara University of California. So 3 California universities, and also the University of Utah. Go ahead, Norm.
When did Berkeley come into it? Because I know Berkeley had a big BS because they took AT&T Unix and made it BSD, Berkeley System Development.
Yeah.
And
well,
that was
in a funny
.com,
way,
right? Yeah.
This was also the birth of operating systems like Unix as well, because Unix was one of the first operating systems that was built from the ground up to support networking. The idea that computers would want to talk to each other. And the reason why that concept even existed was because of this. The ARPANET, the research project by some no doubt pot-smoking college students in the 1960s who had this brilliant idea to hook some computers together and make them talk to each other over long distance and start to set up a network that way.
Well, at that time, it wasn't just computer; it was just one mainframe, and then other computers connect to it through a terminal, and then you had with basically no memory. And the
Norm,
Yeah,
are
mainframe
you
that
gonna
happened.
let
was
Cosmic tell you this really cool fact?
Okay,
well. That
sorry.
was yeah. That was time sharing. But
Yeah.
mainframes can only connect as far as you could connect a terminal to it. This concept right here was brand new, and it was giving computers a way to talk to each other all the time over long distances. I remember in the late 1970s having the opportunity to go to Carnegie Mellon University and actually communicate with a friend of mine who was in Florida over the ARPANET, which was not open to the public at that time. I was only able to do it because we were able to go into the computer science lab and log into the network that way. Because they were Carnegie Mellon University at that time was one of the nodes. But an interesting the whole bit of trivia that this is leading to, as Hawk alluded to a minute ago, is that this was 1969. Now, by 1972, the internet had actually expanded from 4 nodes to 37 nodes. So by 1972, there were now 37 computers connected to the internet in grand total, including MIT in Boston, which of course was the whole way across on the other side of the country. And at that time would have been a very expensive phone call, a long distance phone call. AT&T charged a fortune for cross country calls at that time. So the bit of go ahead, Norm.
The node means for network online device, by the way. I don't know if we said that yet, but it is an anagram for a network online
Yeah,
device.
it's one of those little circles there. But
Because
anyway, at the point as of 1972, there were only 37 computers in grand total connected to the internet, and yet in 1972, the first retail sale was transacted over the ARPANET. It wasn't even called the internet at that time. 37 computers connected to the internet at that time, and the first internet sales transaction was conducted in 1972. Now, does anyone want to guess what was sold?
I'm kind of curious myself. Because I don't know this, and
That's how the Silk Road got started.
I'm not a scholar or anything, but this is
Well,
all
while
right.
we let people out there think about it, I am going to open my third of the variety pack. This is the Kangaroo Hopped IPA.
And
So
we
this
just got
is
a raid from our friend Floyd Due Diligence with 30 people. Thank you for coming in.
all right. Due diligence. We appreciate that massively. Let me throw the thanks up there. Let me just bring everyone who just rated us up to speed on the question, and I will not go through that long explanation again. The bottom line is we're talking about the early internet. As of 1972, the internet had 37 computers connected to it. I know that's mind blowing considering the billions that are there now.
Did
But
Al Gore
in
know about
19
this?
What?
say it again.
Did Al Gore know about this? Since he invented the
I
internet and
think
all that?
I don't even know if Al Gore was in college when this happened.
He only worked on the legislation connecting them all together later on, but yeah.
So
Yeah.
So the question that we're asking of the audience here is, so in 1972, with 37 computers connected to the internet, And I'll give everyone a hint. All 37 of them were all at college universities. This was still basically a university project.
And one of them was Carnegie Mellon, which I only remember from Back to School with the Rodney Dangerfield. That's the only reason why.
I have been to the Carnegie Mellon computer lab, and I was honored to be there. I was brought there by a good friend of mine who was doing his doctorate there. But anyway, 1972, 37 computers connected to the internet. The first retail sale ever made over the internet was made between two of those computers in 1972. And we're wondering if anybody can guess what they sold. Ghost Pepper says, puffing and having a Dos Equis.
It wasn't fake diplomas, I'll say that.
Well, it was college kids in the early 70s. I think we probably just gave it all away right there.
Okay, I'm gonna either say test cheat like some sort of crib notes or marijuana. I know that's a far thing, but I will say drugs. I will say drugs.
You didn't guess acid?
I'll just say drugs.
It is, in fact, and the chat is all piping up now. Everybody's figured out what we're talking about, Willis. Yes, it was, in fact, a weed sale, which was transacted over the internet before the internet, almost a decade before the internet was public.
and somebody said pizza, and that was actually one of the first big Bitcoin. Yeah, you already said that too. TL Spud said big. That was the somebody ordered to somebody in Florida a pizza paid with Bitcoin, and that was like one of the first. And you got to understand that's what gave Bitcoin its value in the first place, because you don't have a value
based on pizza.
No, that's Bitcoin, but you don't have a value until you put it up against something.
Right. A Bitcoin isn't worth anything until you know how many pizzas you can buy with one, or how many it takes to buy a pizza in the case of the early days.
that was actually the first thing with Bitcoin. And
that means non-fungible.
I do remember covering that in my Bitcoins and beer episode. I can't remember what episode. That was over 10 years ago. But yeah, that is the first Bitcoin transaction, but the first but it wasn't really a transaction. It was a meetup, wasn't it? Or I can't see them exchanging.
No, it was a transaction, Norm. I'm the one that came up. I stumbled across the fact and sent it to Cosmic.
Yep, Hawk brought it to the table, and I thought, wow, I have to research this because I tell all kinds of good trivia stories at the Computer Museum all the time. And that's one I've never told before, I never heard before, so I had to research it, I had to validate it, and it does check out, and it certainly is believable. There's nobody who's not going to believe that. College kids in the early 70s.
That was my first guess, actually. But there is also a Netflix series called "How to Sell Drugs on the Internet." How to sell drugs fast on the internet, and
well, yeah, that's all Silk. Yeah. That's like Hawk alluded to earlier, Silk Road and Tor, Onion Router, and all that.
Yeah.
Which, if you want to know anything about that, I believe it's Braxman. I'll have to go look it up real quick and make sure. But Rob Braxman, I believe. Yeah, Rob Braxman Tech, Braxman on YouTube. Rob Braxman. He is a privacy advocate. And if you want to have any idea of how much of your information is being stolen that you can't do anything about, he's a good black pill. He will tell you there are very few alternatives other than just not being on the net at all, unfortunately. But he will tell you how to get rid of a lot of the major spyware, and he will guide you in the right direction. So Rob Braxman, Braxman, on YouTube.
And he's not. Is he American or is he European? I thought he was
I
European.
believe he's Asian.
Okay, so
Well, there's also a company out there called DeleteMe.com, and they'll do it for you for cheap, and they'll keep up on keeping your information off the internet.
There's another one that I see, and I see this because we have not yet been approached here at 3BeerMen to do sponsors, to take on sponsors for the channel. But I keep up on this stuff because Madness Entertainment Group is big enough that we are likely to be, well, we get approached with spam all the time. Let us help you build your channel. Let us help you get more subs. Let us help you get more views. And it's all bot farms. Basically you pay $25, you get 1,000 views. But YouTube knows that it's not organic, so they ding you for it. They not only don't credit you for the views, but they actually devalue your channel when they see bot activity.
Yep.
So anyway, the point being that Delete Me is one of those things that you see on a lot of those YouTube sponsor 1-minute sponsored bits now. And I've read mixed things about them. I've read that they do some things. I haven't read any bad things. I haven't read any scam things. I haven't read any rip-off things, any reason to believe that. But effective wise, I don't know. I'd have to talk to somebody who actually uses it as opposed to somebody who gets paid to shill it on their YouTube channel.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm not trying to plug them by any means. It's just a little fact. I happen to know because I know somebody that uses it, and it is a sponsor for them.
I don't know. I pay somebody to put out my music, and apparently I don't get any views except for the people that actually already watch my stuff.
Exactly. all your stuff shows up in my feed, Norm. I get a new Norm in my feed every time you release something new, and probably 11 or 12 other people do too.
I released 2 things
that
this
unfortunately
week, by the
is
way.
the algorithm.
Yeah, I released 2 things this week, and they were both stupid, and I do them when I'm drunk, so I don't even remember when I do them. But they're
If anybody wants to see that, go look just this the way it's spelled right there on the screen right now. NO_R_M. Look that up on YouTube. You will find Norm's channel. Norm is releasing new original music. So by all
just
means,
stupid stuff I do when I'm drunk. But I like to think it's clever. I don't know.
Which is pretty much everything, Norm.
Oh yeah, no, it's not everything. Trust me, you wouldn't want to hear this stuff. You probably
be honest, Norm. We're here for you, brother.
I don't want to. I don't want to. No.
Indeed.
Yeah. Actually, ignore Cosmic about that. Yeah, you don't have to listen to it. I don't take Chris.
No, that's all right. I listen to it. I'll listen to it tonight after I've had 4 of these or 5 of these, and that'll even it out, right?
Yeah, just crack your 4th beer. After you crack your 4th beer, it's fine.
Right. Then listen to it. Yeah, that's the way to go. Isn't that the old joke? Please, Grandma, don't write too fast because I can only read slowly. Anyway, so I do have one. Well, that's everything I can think of to talk about the first sale on the internet. Unless anybody else has anything they want to add to that.
Tilla Spell did say that one of the first sales on the internet of Bitcoin was by Bitcoin was a pizza, but actually one of the first trading platforms on the internet that took on Bitcoin was called Mt. Gox. And a lot of people don't know what that means. And that was Magic the Gathering trading exchange, and that was because they traded Magic the Gathering card. But then this asshole from France moved to Japan and bought that platform just to make it for Bitcoin, because they created a trading exchange for Bitcoin, and instead of Magic the Gathering cards. And what's that? I'm sorry for swearing by saying he's an asshole. I was gonna call him something even worse right now. Uh, then he created bots to steal people's money in Japan, and he got basically arrested. FBI probably took a lot of the Bitcoins, sold to Draper, some guy named Draper in in Silicon Valley, and then they closed down Mt. Gox. But one thing it did was gave it a value, because it gave it a value. Believe it or not, because it's not. It doesn't have a value if it's not currency. It's not currency unless it flows, and that's what the Latin term.
Well, it's been fully, at least this is a topic for when we have Craig Mason back on the show. By the way, this shirt is from Craig Mason's merch shop. So by all means, check out Craig Mason, Reasonable TV. He was on just yesterday morning. He's on about every other Saturday morning on, let's see, where all is he at now? I catch him on D Live. No, I think I have to catch him on Pilled because I think they banned him. But anyway, I was going somewhere with that, and now I've forgotten.
Oh, you're talking about Craig Mason, and is he going to be back on our show at any time soon?
Oh, I was saying that was a topic for Craig Mason. But BTC, he will be the first one to tell you, BTC is now thoroughly monetized or currentized. In fact, it's almost been, I'm trying to think of a good word that ends with "ized," but it's been usurped. It no longer really is digital cryptocurrency the way cryptocurrency was meant to be.
It's fully an exchange mechanism between wealth, and before,
and I agree with. I was watching the Bitcoin ticker all day today because Bitcoin dropped like a freaking rock after last night's news. I mean, the minute that the news burst from that we were dropping the bunker busters, Bitcoin, I just watched it just drop all night. And literally it dropped from like 106 down all the way to almost 97. Almost 10 grand in one night. Now, when I came back to start the show, it was back up to close to 100 again. So it picked up some of its.
We were speaking about wooden roller coasters earlier, and
yeah.
And by the way, a term in Bitcoin is related to a roller coaster. Means it's hodl. Means hold on for dear life, and that's what you have to do if you invest in Bitcoin, is because it's a roller coaster term, because you're waiting while it goes click 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 up, and then it will drop you down like you want to throw up, like the alien said earlier from.
You're right.
You want to
humans do this for fun?
Yeah, exactly. So
no kidding.
That's hodl. Hold on for dear life, because if you just sit for, like you said, 24 hours later, boom, back up like a roller coaster. But you have to be patient. So
yeah. Indeed. Val says, I had a glimpse of gold hitting 3,700. We shall see. Man, I remember when it was trading at 1,200. Boy, do I wish I had gone.
What's silver at, by the way? I'm just curious.
That's a good question.
I bought silver back in 2008 at $28 an ounce.
See, it's $36 now. I don't get silver at all, because I've had silver. The last time I looked up the value of the silver that I had, I think it was $36. I just have a bunch of coins that I actually ended up with because of a space that we cleaned out. That the guy was using original old silver coins. He was electrolyzing them to do silver plating. So he was taking the old silver coins and putting them in electroplate, and then putting other things and etching the silver off the coins and using it to electroplate other things.
It's very undervalued because it has a value other than wealth transfer. Well,
Yeah.
actually, gold and platinum and copper all have values under wealth transfer, which is what they're used for. But they're the best electric conductor. But silver is also
No, silver is the
anti.
best natural conductor of electricity, Norm.
Correct. I said they are all, uh, but silver is also antimicrobial, which makes it even more bad.
But
It's
It's
also
so
got the best
silver
undervalued.
will,
reflective properties, and say that the silver screen in movies.
yeah, silver
Silver.
will tarnish. However,
Mhm.
Yes,
gold will not. Silver
that's why
reacts with oxygen. Gold does not.
But back in the day, that's why they started mixing them so they would have the best properties of both. When you mix gold and
Exactly.
silver together, it's called electrium.
Yeah, but they're
Still
all
used on industrial
undervalued.
contacts to this day.
Well,
Yes.
what I was just saying, they're undervalued because they have other properties. Uh, yeah, they're undervalued. I think intentionally,
Well,
but
there was a time
that's
when aluminum was more valuable than gold.
Yeah.
undervalued. Like I said, that's all I was saying.
Wait, yeah, how did what I say that didn't contradict anything you were saying?
All right. Well,
But yet,
with that,
Bitcoin is virtual, and yet it has a value as a transfer of wealth. Where gold and silver has a weight to it, Bitcoin does not have a weight, and that's why.
It could in electrons.
Yeah, but
it'd be awfully light. Yeah, it'd be hard to weigh.
yeah, you can swim
More like
farther than with silver or with gold than silver is an old expression when you had to transfer it overseas. So
yeah. That's true.
that's all I'm saying.
All right. Well, with that, shall we move on to some other strange
Yes.
facts?
Yes, please.
All right. Well, I have got a strange one here for us. Let me see if I can find it. This one is a bird is the word. We haven't done one of those for a while. So, something I recently found out about myself. I learned that I am a horologist. And I didn't know exactly what that meant. Of course, I had an assumption what that might mean.
Yeah, I've
But
got an idea.
A pimp.
Nobody tell Mrs. Cause. But anyway, it turns out that horologist is actually a word that means a specialist in time. Also referring to a builder or maintainer of clocks or watches or other timekeeping devices. So,
How do you
being the
spell that?
fan,
Wait, hold on.
let me, there it is, Norm.
You think there'd be some temporal thing in there, or yeah, yeah? I don't know. Horo logical. Yeah, I. Where are the root words?
Yeah, where do the roots come from?
Oh, yeah.
Well, there it is. Hora, actually, there it is. In both Latin and ancient Greek, the term horology is the portmanteau of hora, which means period of time or hour, and ology, which means to study or have a proper knowledge of. So, horology is the scientific study of measuring time and making instruments to keep time. And
You
it
would think
involves the
it'd be
design, construction,
uh,
repairing, and so forth. Yeah.
you would think it'd be like okay, like I thought temporology or something like that. I thought Sorry, my Latin's really rusty, but now I feel like I don't
You
know
would think there might
Latin.
be a connection to astrology there. And I mean, technically there is, because astrology is also a timekeeping science. But in astrology, there's a lot of inference that goes on about what certain timings mean,
I was
as
thinking
opposed to.
not astrology, but like astrology sounds more like horology if you spell it correctly.
Yeah.
Astrology.
Yeah, you would think it
Uh,
would be a Chronos in there, right?
yeah. I was thinking temporal mechanics or something.
Okay, but besides the basic watch or a cuckoo clock, what's everybody's favorite time keeping machine? I go first. I go first because mine's the coolest. Mine's the drip rifle,
Our,
where they hung a bucket of water and made it drip so often, and finally, when it ran out of enough water, it fired a shot. It's how some of the French legionnaires escaped. You know, being pinned
but
down somewhere real bad because it made them think that they were, actually there firing the rifle. But that's actually how it worked. Was it worked off time? They had to know how long it was going to take for a drip of water at a time to fire all those guns.
But why is this bird is the word when I thought that was ornithology? Or I'm probably mispronouncing that too. Or
What?
ornithological. That's birds, right? Orno, or am I pronouncing that correctly? Ornil.
Oh Jesus, Norm! You make my brain hurt, dude.
I,
Well, I will go
wonder what.
next. My favorite clock is actually the Hewlett Packard 5060 cesium atomic clock.
Ah, yes.
And that is a clock. Actually, if you want to see one of those restored, check out a channel on YouTube called Curious Mark with a C.
You,
Curious Mark,
you
MARC.
you
And
don't have
good, Norm.
one of those at the museum.
We do have a cesium atomic clock at the museum. It's not the HP. It's not the Hewlett Packard. And it is the size of a refrigerator. It is a full rack machine.
Is that because
But
of
it is capable of keeping the time down to an accuracy of something like 1 second every 2,000 years or something like that.
Is that because of Carly took over HP and back when from Compaq? What was her last name? Carly. I want to say
I,
Carly Simon. I know that's wrong.
HP got rid of a lot of their instrumentation division by merging with a company called Agilent. And so the computer division and the instrumentation division were pretty separate by the time Carly Fiorina came along and
Farina, that's her name. Yeah, okay.
started messing
Yeah.
up the company.
Well, yeah, she was from Compaq that broke off from what was that? Texas Instruments. Yeah, okay, that goes into a whole bunch of other my head is filled with little facts that I want to fucking spat out. Sorry, I didn't mean to swear. But
Well,
yeah.
so far, Hawk, we've succeeded in making tonight about a whole lot of trivial stuff, right?
I've only had 3 of these, by the way. I'm gonna be working on my 4th one pretty soon now. And that's when my head will explode.
Well, I am just about to open my last one for this evening, and that is the Logger Jammer. That is, of course, named after the Log Jammer ride at Kennywood. And this is the lightest beer, which is why I saved it for last. This is basically Penn Gold. Penn Gold is the Hellas Lager that we brew at Penn in the style of.
Let's compare the colors.
Yeah, there you can see it's a little bit, it's tiny little bit more. If I get it out of the way, you can see that it is just about as light. So
Yeah.
yeah, very very
Well, and then
light
you get to
logger.
see it again when you return it from renting it. I bet it's the same.
Yeah, same color when you return it. Indeed.
Tweak, why are you giving us a cookie? I love you, man, but I know you hate me, but thank you, man.
I think the cookie was for Hawk. It says, "Oh look, Norm interrupts you too."
No, what gives you that idea?
I
Indeed.
love you,
All
Tweak.
right.
I hope it's a birdseed cookie. Those are my favorite.
Well, we got about 20 minutes to go yet. Are we going to resort to making segments and cooking segments, or do you guys have anything else to go
Well,
through
did
tonight?
Norm go over his favorite clock yet?
Over what?
Me and
I didn't.
Cosmic both gave examples of our favorite time-keeping pieces.
Oh, favorite
Is it when the street
timepiece.
lights come on and Kitty tells you it's time to come home? Is that your
Do you
favorite
have a
timekeeping
classic
piece, Norm?
timepiece, Norm?
A classic one. I had a.
Just a favorite one.
I do, but I don't have it on me. It's
Me and Cosmic didn't have ours on us either.
it's a
Jesus
Fair
Christ.
enough.
well, it broke, and
But
so
is this
it's
gonna
a
be is this gonna go into a funeral or something?
yeah. It's probably good.
Okay. Okay, we'll just have to
I'm not gonna
Well,
talk about my favorite timepiece because
all right. Well,
I'll
then
find it
I'll
though.
throw a second one in. My second runner up, and I recently posted this one on X, is the Casio RC1000 wrist computer from 1992.
I
It's a
had one.
wristwatch.
Calculus.
I can go get, I literally could run upstairs and get mine and bring it down and show everybody right now. But yeah, in 1992 it was super sophisticated. It was called the wrist computer, and it had a wire that actually connected to your computer, and it had software that would run on either an IBM PC, an Apple II, or a Commodore 64. And you could hook the watch up to any one of those three computers, and you could download all your stuff into it. You could download your contact list and all that stuff into it. So you would have all that stuff, right? And alarms, you could have it multiple
PDA.
alarms and time zones and all kinds.
It
Yeah.
was a PDA, basically a personal digital assistant.
But on your wrist in 1992.
Yep.
That was early.
Well, yeah, the Newton was just. When did the Newton come out?
Around the same time, but that
Yeah.
was a much bigger device. That
Yeah,
wasn't a
yeah. It was
device that would fit on your wrist. This was an actual watch that did all that neat stuff. So it was super sophisticated, and the software that you could run on either IBM PC, Apple II, or Commodore 64 actually came with the source code in BASIC. So you could see exactly how it worked. So a couple years ago, I actually undertook a project where I set up a website, and it's not online anymore because I just got bored maintaining it. But I actually set up a website called rc-1000.com where you could go, and it was running an emulation of the original BASIC software that I had ported from BASIC to JavaScript so that it would run in your browser. And you could connect your watch up to the browser and program it exactly the same way that you used to program it if you had a computer back in 1992. I mean, the screen was exactly the same, black screen with green characters, exactly the same experience.
Yeah, I had the amber screen, but you could buy them in white, amber, and green, I believe. Right?
Yeah, I did put a feature into that website later on where you could change the phosphor color, but
Yeah.
yeah.
And that
So
was
that was a
uh,
little bit of trivia there. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. If we're going to do a build segment, why don't you guys stall for me for just 1 minute here, or maybe a minute and a half because of the way I'm limping these days. I have got to. I'm not going to quite make it through the rest of the
Okay, well,
segment, but I'll be
we
back in
can
just a
wing it.
minute. All right, go
We can wing
guys.
it. All right. Now, let's have an intelligent conversation, so I'll do all the talking, all right, Norm? You got this? Just give me hand signals. Like, if you throw up two fingers, that can mean peace, or that can also mean deuces, or in England it means something else, but we're not going to go there.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure what you're asking.
You're talking, you just fucked it up. You're supposed to be doing hand signals. Like I said, I'm going to do the talking. There you go. There you go. Now, who's on first?
What? Oh, no,
You're
he's on
talking
second.
again. Jesus
Damn it.
Christ, how hard is
Damn
this?
it.
Nanu.
No. I don't know.
What kind of cult is that? No, don't. You can't speak. Murray, you can't speak. You can only do hand signals. Okay, that's Iceman from Top Gun. Or Doc Holliday if that was a coin.
Val Kimber.
God, would you quit talking? God damn it.
All right.
We just, this is why we can't have nice things, Norm. You can't follow directions. Okay, Virgin Mary.
No.
And Judas? That's a naughty story. You shouldn't be telling
Here's
that.
the church. Here's the
You're,
steeple. Open it
you
up
just
and
can't. You just
see
can't
all the
not talk,
people.
can you?
I have to explain my ASL.
No. It's just like a Pictionary. You gotta keep drawing or using hands, but you just can't talk. The itsy bitsy spider went up the water spout. You don't know where my fingers been, so I'm trying to show you how.
All right,
Okay, there
I'm
we go.
back. Hopefully that
We failed
that covered
miserably,
up
but I think we were
everything.
slightly entertaining.
Hopefully I remembered to change the camera off there because I may or may not actually be wearing pants. So that's yeah, I haven't been able to wear pants for a week now because my knee is just too damn sore. Anyway. Let's wrap up tonight's show with a little bit of Cosmac Makes a Thing. Since we're doing weird stuff tonight, this is a pretty weird thing that I made basically to solve a necessity issue. So let me start out.
What the hell is even that?
All right. So this is something that I put together here recently. Basically, it's a plastic stand with a wire sticking up out of it. And I'm not going to make everybody guess what that is because it's not something that you would recognize or be able to go out and buy off the shelf. In fact, it's a very one-of-a-kind invention, once again built out of necessity. So the story here is that I needed to get a burner phone set up because I needed a phone number. Norm, you'll appreciate this. I needed a cell phone number that would work with services that was not a voice over IP number, but wasn't one of my existing phone numbers.
Yep.
Yeah. You know what a pain that is.
I've had that issue many times. I still do.
Yeah. And I started out for this particular task that I was trying to do by using a burner phone service, believe it or not, where for 75 cents you could buy a burner number and use it one time. and receive your verification message, key in your 4 digits and whatever. But anyway, that didn't end up working. Oh, good night, Memer. Memer, the rememberer, says off to bed. We appreciate it. Thanks for coming. So anyway,
Appreciate every time you get. Yeah, you've been here so much, so thank you.
Indeed. So
There, go ahead.
so anyway, long story short, I needed something more reliable than the one-time burner numbers. I needed a number that was going to be permanent. And so I discovered that the cheapest way to do that was to go get basically a burner SIM, which they're not hard to get. The company I used actually was called Tello, Tello, and for $6 a month, you can get a burner SIM that'll give you 100 minutes of voice and 1 gig of data and free as many texts as you need to send. So it did exactly what I needed to do, literally for $6 a month. And that let me get around.
Are they
Good,
nationwide or are they only in your
Yeah.
area?
No, Tello is nationwide. Tello. But of course, with a burner SIM, I needed a device to put the SIM in. And I've got dozens of old phones. I mean, literally dozens of old phones lying around. And I managed to find one that was new enough, still running Android 11, I think. Android 15 is current. This one maxed out at Android 11. But I finally found a phone that I could do what I needed to on, put the SIM in, and get what I needed. But what I discovered was that using it was a real pain because this particular phone didn't have any notification thing on it. So it didn't have any thing like where if you received a call or you received a text where it would like beep at you or flash a light on the front or somehow let you know. So in order to do anything with it, I had to go check it. Like every 2 minutes, I had to go check and see if I got anything on it. Did I get anything on it? Did I get anything on it? So I finally did some research and I found a handicapped feature on the phone. It's a Samsung thing where it will flash the flash of the phone a couple times as the alert. So if you get a call or you get a message or something like that, it will flash the flash thingy on the back of the phone. Well, that'll do. I mean, I'll just put it up against a black wall or something. I'll be able to see the light behind it. But it turns out that the light only flashes once. That's it. It flashes one time and then it doesn't flash again. So it's the same thing. If you're not there to see the light flash, then you're screwed. You don't know, unless you physically walk up to it and unlock it and open up the screen and look and see whether you missed anything. You still don't know if you missed anything. Now, granted, this is third world problems. I'm trying to use a phone that was state of the art in 2019. This probably isn't a problem I would have if I was trying to use a modern phone. But I'm stubborn that way, and I was certainly not about to go out. I mean, the whole point of this was that I wanted a burner phone number that cost me almost nothing. So for $6 a month, I'm not even going to go out and spend $50 to buy a cheap Android handset. I'm going to figure out, damn it, how to make my handset work. And so that leads us to Cosmac makes a thing. So what I did is I went out and I bought a charger, a USB-C charger for the phone, just a real cheap one. Literally, I think this was $6 on Amazon. Just one of those things you set on the table, you set the phone in it. And first thing I noticed was that the phone didn't fit very well. The stand was obviously made for a phone in a case, in a bumper, with a case around it, like Norm was showing you there.
iPhone.
So it didn't fit very well. Well, do iPhones have USB-C?
They do now. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Mine
guess
does.
they do now. But anyway, so it didn't fit very well. So there was a big gap in it. You can see it's just kind of hovering there on the USB, and it was wanting to flop over side to side and leaning over backwards and crap like that. So first thing I did is I fixed that problem. I put in some spacers, took some old stuff that I have, and some bumpers and stuff, and I just filled it in so that now the phone was nice and stable, so that when the phone goes in there, it is solid.
You know those
Good,
clear things you have in the back? You know what we used to call those back in the day? LRF. Do you know what LRF stands for?
I don't know.
Little rubber feet.
That makes sense. So anyway, we got some little rubber feet and we've got some foam padding, but I still had the problem where the phone wasn't, there was no good way to know if there was activity on the phone unless I was physically sitting there and watching it. So that's where the fun began. So I peeled the bottom off of it, discovered that there were 4 screws underneath, took it apart, and it came apart into basically 4 pieces, 3 pieces of plastic and the cord, which had the USB that stuck up out of it. So I started by stripping up the cord and peeling out the wires that are in there. So you can see, if you look carefully there are colored wires that I peeled out of the outer black insulation there. There's a green one, a white one, a black one, and a red one. And it just so happens...
Almost Irish.
Good,
Almost Irish.
The black one and the red one just happen to be a source of 5-volt power. So what you can see here that I did is I spliced in a jumper wire so that I could basically, and I did that with the black and the red. So now I've got a tap off of the wire that's inside that thing that gives me power that I can use to power my own circuit inside there. So from there, I took a couple of LEDs, wired them up, drilled some holes in the base, which you can see right here, and I mounted those LEDs into the base. And then, good, Norm.
The red is the positive, the black is the ground, or the negative.
For the LEDs, yeah. So anyway, and this is the back. Now what you can see that I've done here is that I drilled a couple holes and I mounted a rectangular thing on the top, which you'll find out later is an antenna, and a wire or a rod sticking out that you can see on the right-hand side, which is actually just a piece of 14 gauge wire. It's a piece of just 14 gauge house wire, basically, that I stripped out of the yellow Romex. It was 12 gauge because it was yellow Romex, not white. Hawk would know that. Anyway, hot glued that in there, put some electronics in there, and this is the finished product. So what you can see is that I've got this little thing sticking up out of the back that basically sticks right up against the flash on the back of the phone. So when the phone is sitting in the holder, it's got this little eye, and that's what that is. That's an electric eye sitting up against the flash on the phone. So basically what happens is whenever the phone flashes, my little base, the little electric eye there, sees the flash on the phone. It blinks the red lights, and it keeps the red lights blinking. Even after the flash stops, it keeps the red lights blinking. So if I come by 5 minutes later and I look at the table and there's the stand, I see the red lights blinking.
It's an RF.
And this is the cool part about the antenna. It also emails me an alert. It sends me an email that says, hey, you got a message on your phone. You need to go check.
So the antenna goes to your Wi-Fi, and
Yeah,
then
yeah. The antenna connects to the Wi-Fi, and yeah, it can email me. It could alert me over Bluetooth. There's a whole bunch of neat things I could do with it. But yeah, that was mother necessity being a mother is what that was.
and you didn't even have to use a Pringles can to do it, which was the old
No,
antenna we.
and
Yeah.
and the cool thing is that literally was less than $10 worth of parts, including the base, and it solved the problem for me. It did what it needed to. Okay. Peggy Dancer says Zoso just posted, so here's what I'm going to do. I am going to, until I see if he did post that he's going live, I am going to go ahead and add some gold pills here to the chest. I'm sorry, gold pills. I'm going to add lemons to the chest. There are lemons going in the chest right now. And thank you, Stuck in New York. Go ahead, Norm.
No, I was just going to say the same thing. Thank you to my friend stuck in New York, even though he keeps on kicking me out of the stream. I don't mean to be obnoxious, but it's just my nature. So.
All right, well, let me do this. Since everyone has been so incredibly generous over in the Pilled tonight, let me run over to the Pilled and release the scratchings. These scratchings are released. So everybody over there can get some of that gold pill love. And D-Live folks, get your chesticles ready. Here come the chesticles. So treasure chest and distribute. So in 30 seconds, everybody over there on D-Live will have their chesticles.
I'm already seeing them. And I'm already seeing the gold pills being won by Willie Fix It, by Willie Fix It.
Scratchings are going.
Willie Amazon by Willie Fix. Willie, how do you do this? I notice he does that every week.
Willie is fast on the scratching finger. He may have had problems with his shoulder, but boy, he got the finger working good.
Yeah.
And congratulations tonight to Lucky Lemon winners, TL Spud, John Rogers, Jayless17, Bad Zoot, and Syllabore. Every one of which got back more than they donated tonight. So that's what we strive for. We aim to be a positive experience. Yes, and TL said shout out to the Batman. Yes, hopefully we will have Bruce back next week. He again was at a wedding today. So Mazel Tov to Bruce and the Bruce family.
Yep.
And it looks like Zoso is live. So the raid is set and we can say our goodnights.
Yeah, if you haven't scratched off the scratch off yet, please scratch it off. And don't let Willie Fix It get everything. No offense, Willie. I love you, you know. But yeah. Watch our outro. Yeah. Squawk.
Squawk, you got a good night for us? All right, well, we'll squawk on Squawk's behalf. And I will just say goodnight to everyone. And thanks so much for coming tonight. We really appreciate it. It means so much to see everybody out there. We really enjoy having you guys. And we hope you guys had fun. And look forward to seeing you guys again next week. So with that, good night. And we'll see you at Zoso Dudes.
time to call a night. Do what you feel and keep both feet on the wheel. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. So till next time.
Move 'em on. Hit 'em up. Hit 'em up. Move 'em on. Move 'em on. Hit 'em up. Rawhide. Cut 'em out. Ride 'em in. Ride 'em in. Cut 'em out. Cut 'em out. Ride 'em in. Rawhide.
Let's get the hell out of here.